So, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. This is our second education workshop of 2021. And as you know, this month being Women's History Month, we are focusing more on our ladies at the chamber. So we wanted to bring you all some offerings that were more tailored towards, us women and our needs. And fortunately, we have such great women in our community that are kind enough to offer their time and services to us. So thank you, Ugne, for your willingness to join us and help us with this discussion on women's health and wellness. There we go. And for those of you who don't know, Ugne is at Lavender Farm Wellness. She is a board certified adult gerontologist as well as women's health primary care nurse practitioner. So Ugne, thank you so much. And I'm going to pass you the virtual microphone.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. And it's a big topic. So how women can accomplish more by doing less. And there's three areas that I feel most strongly about, and they're all big chunks of information. So I try to condense it for you all, but I'm hoping that we'll have time more for discussion, engagement, and questions and answers, and what challenges you all have, and what could be some good solutions. Okay, so just as a reminder, this is for educational purposes only, and this is not a substitute for medical advice. Okay, so like as Chantal mentioned, I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm trained in women's health and gerontology. I'm a certified functional medicine provider. I'm a meditator, I'm a yogi, I'm a cold plunge enthusiast, I'm a skier, food lover, all these things. I'm a mom, I'm a mom of two. I have two kids, two jobs. And my husband and I were joking around. I said, I have two husbands. No, I have one husband, but it's just as much work as two sometimes. So our lives are busy. It's hard, it's intense. There's a lot of things on our plate, and we have high demands. So in my toolkit, my survival and thrival toolkit, the main things are hydration, fasting, and sleep. Those three things, when I find myself going off kilter, that's what I first lean into and ask myself, have I been sleeping okay? Have I been sleeping enough? Am I drinking enough water? And how has my food intake has been? Because I know when I don't get enough sleep, my food choices are not great. When I don't drink enough water, my food choices aren't great. So that's my way to self-correct and get on track. So I wanted to share some of the medical data around that, and how it might be helpful to you. So water is essential, right? We live on an island, we're surrounded by water. We have very good sense of how valuable this resource is, and all living things depend on water. In the human body, water can be looked as a nutrient. It's a major constituent in our body. So we're about 70% water. It depends what part of the body we're focusing on, but our cells are made out of water, our tissues, our organs. It's a medium for reactions. It's also a reactant. Water is used to break down protein. And the enzymes use hydrolysis, which is basically a water reaction to break down the food and help us absorb it. When we make energy in mitochondria, the last step of the energy production is actually making water. Okay, when we overheat, right, sweating is the thermoregulation. We expel water, and our joints are having enough cushion. We need water hydration. As we age, right, we get less thirsty. Our taste receptors change for the thirst receptors change. So we are engaged to have, we have to remember to drink more water. We're not as thirsty. I look at my daughter, she just like pounds the water down. She's just like, her thirst reflex is just right there, right? And for me, sometimes I have to remember to do that. And as we age, that gets more and more important. With that, so how does it work in the body? So when your body, when your cells sense an increase, for instance, sodium, right? If like sodium's everywhere. If when your cells notice too much sodium in your blood, they send a signal to your brain, and your brain says, "Oh, I'm told to hold on to more water and balance it out, so we don't have too high of a concentration of sodium." So the brain sends a signal to the kidney, and causing kidney to slow down the urine, don't expel as much water out. So acute to you can be if you're not urinating as much. Acute to you is that you might be dehydrated. Your body is trying to hold on to the water. If sometimes I hear from my patients say that, "Oh, I started drinking more water, but now I'll go to the bathroom all the time." Well, it's actually a good thing. And you will notice that if you increase your water production, you will start going to the bathroom more, because your body is like, great, we have extra water. We can get rid of all these toxins that have been floating around. We can wash it out. So it stimulates you to go. But then once things have been washed out, it balances it out. Another good way to know if you're drinking enough water is what color is your urine. There was this nice study looking at women and the effect of even just mild dehydration with a moderate exercise, what impact it had on them. And they found, interestingly, what they call perception of task difficulty. So things that might seem to them very simple when they were well hydrated appeared more difficult when they were dehydrated. Or ability to concentrate, ability to focus. So when you're at work and sitting in front of a computer and you're trying to get work done and you can't push it forward, things, you feel distracted, you can't get the right sentence out, go for water before you go for coffee. That will help you more. And might take a little bit longer, but keep that in mind. Keep the hydration up, okay? Sometimes we just need to go for coffee and you just do it, but chase it with water, okay? Headaches. Many women suffer from headaches. Hydration can be a good way to manage that. Certainly it's not all and be all solution, however, but even on that basic level, increasing the water intake. In this study, they looked at women who were drinking less than 2.5 liters of water. That's about 70, so I'm trying to convert it to ounces. So 2 liters of water is 64 ounces. So a little bit more than that. With 82 ounces would be 2.5 liters. So when women drank less than 2.5 liters of water, and their hydration was increased by another 1.5 liters, their migraine scores improved, their perception of their pain improved. So that could be another thing to consider. I love this study because it was just, it focused on an intervention and something that's doable, and it doesn't take a lot of hard work to do. So basically what they did, they told participants to drink 2 glasses of water in the morning and 2 glasses of water at night. They did 8-ounce glasses, right? So just by doing that, they saw improvement in blood pressures and waste excretion and kidney function and and body temperature. Once I read the study, that has been my go-to advice for people, and that's been a go-to step for me too, that even during the day, if I feel like I'm having a hard time to staying hydrating, and now that when we're wearing masks, it makes it even harder. So I feel like, okay, if I get my 2 glasses in the morning when I get up and 2 glasses at night, at least I got that down. Sorry, my slides are not advancing forward. There you go. So as we discussed before, 2 glasses in the morning, 2 glasses at night, okay? To improve. If you're menstruating, up the water. If you're breastfeeding, up the water. If you're pregnant, you need to up the water, okay? If you're drinking coffee, if you're having alcohol, water goes up. So fasting, let's talk about fasting. It's definitely been one of the more popular fads, diet fads, food fads, and probably recently that's been one of the more frequent questions that people have been asking me about. So there are different kinds of fast, and it all gets usually just lumped up in one group. And some of them are easier to do, some of them are hard to do and require medical supervision. But basically, intermittent fasting, when we think about, or when you hear a term used, intermittent fasting means that somebody eats a certain amount of calories, let's say 5 days a week, and increased and more calories 2 times a week. Okay, so offsetting the ratios, that certain days you eat less calories and certain days you eat more calories a day. Time restricted fasting is more concerns during the day. If you're eating, let's say, between 8 a.m. in the morning and 8 p.m. at night, that gives you a 12-hour nighttime fast. And the health benefits for time restricted eating is about reducing the time where you're consuming food. Fast mimicking diet is a diet where a small amount of food is ingested that has all the vitamin and minerals needed, so you're safe, but your body doesn't go in starvation mode, but it has the benefits of the fasting. Goop had a little episode on that. So if you have any of these conditions, you should talk with a medical professional before you consider fasting, okay? So in general, for fasting, there's actually human studies are just in the beginning. They're not quite there yet. We're starting to gather the information. There are more and more coming out, but it's not solid evidence yet. Like, this is how it is. Everybody should be fasting. And if somebody starts pushing that advice on you, know that they don't know. However, from the animal studies and the upcoming human studies, we're starting to see that the trends, how the fasting can be helpful to you. So metabolism, so breaking down food and breaking down cells, being able to repair the body, insulin levels get stabilized, or more so blood sugar levels get stabilized. And we know that insulin is one of the major hormones involved in multiple diseases, and diabetes and cardiac disease and cancer and PCOS. That's another one, a big one in women, right? That fasting could be a good way to manage those. Another one that I'm really excited about is that we're starting to see that having gut rest in some form of fasting that allows your gut, your intestines to heal. So you have less gut permeability and less inflammation. So I feel like time restricted eating is a good, safe and fast and dirty way to improve how I'm feeling and sort of cue up my awareness to food. But basically the idea is, and I love this picture because you're eating when the sun is out and you stop eating when it's dark out, and really focusing more on delaying the dinner or having the dinner earlier rather than much later in the night, so your body has time to heal rather than to digest, because nothing is happening, no repair can happen, or minimally can happen until you're done digesting. So if you're sneaking away through the night and having a snack before you go to bed at midnight and you get up at 6 to go to work, your body didn't have enough time to do the repair work. It was still busy digesting for a good portion of it. So it looks like the benefits of fasting are related to circadian rhythms too. And circadian rhythms, as you already know, I'm sure, is that sort of our response to light, that our response to darkness, when it's time to rest, when it's time to sleep, when it's time to eat. So, and it's responsive to the stimulus. Light is a strong stimulus for circadian rhythms, but so is food. And when we put food in our body, it tells our body time to be awake, time to be ready for action. So when we have that dinner earlier, we signal the body to that it's okay to rest earlier. So it looks like from the research that the majority of the benefits from the time restricted fasting associated with circadian rhythms. So I really love this method because it enhances my circadian rhythms, and I don't have to do the dishes later at night either. So let's do less, right? So for fasting recommendations, I would say give it a try, play it around, see what your life rhythm is like. For many of us, dinner time is time with the family. But I'd say if you can play around a couple times a week, maybe your spouse or partner is at home and you're feeding your kids dinner early, you can eat dinner with the kids and skip the meal or any food when your spouse is home. Just have a glass of water. Playing around with that time and then giving yourself at least 3 hours before from your before you go to bed, and just sticking to the water after that. Okay. For women, sometimes incorrectly the intermittent fasting is pushed and say like, oh, you can just skip breakfast altogether. But I'm a little bit concerned about that because when we skip breakfast, the hormonal pattern, women are more sensitive to hormonal fluctuations, and that cortisol, when cortisol, stress hormone, rises in the morning, and when we don't eat, it stresses our body, which small amounts of stress is okay, it's good, but it can kind of mess up our hormonal axis. And there are some ways to do it a little bit more safety with fat intake, but that's conversation for another time. So I would say for now, if you're curious to try it out, I'd say have your first meal about 2 hours after you wake up, and better focus on stopping eating earlier in the night. Okay. So circadian rhythms, we talked a little bit about that already, but I like this graphic. It just gives us a sense, or like a variety of things that are involved, right? How our things work when our clock is healthy, and when our health clock is when our circadian rhythms are disrupted. So it affects all our systems, not just sleep. It affects our organs, it affects our heart, and it affects our circulatory system, our ability to build muscle. And time restricted eating is one thing, but also sleep is a big one and frequently overlooked. And I feel like nowadays we're getting more and more confirmation that we need sleep, and sleep becomes prioritized. But I feel like as women, we putting our household in order, a lot of times we prioritize before getting good rest and good sleep. So making a real effort about in that can be hard. Just an overview. I don't expect you to dive into this and this diagram and all these 3-letter words here, but just so you have an overview. So when the light hits your eye, it stimulates the brain to start producing hormones, letting it know that it's daytime. Make some hormones, make cortisol, things, we're awake, time for action. When it's dark, the brain gets stimulated, and it's time to make melatonin, time for rest, time to repair your cells, time to repair your brain, time to replenish. So with that, what are the major culprits, right? In our fostering our circadian rhythms, and blue lights is a big one. So this study was done in 2011 when they took a poll of how many Americans use electronic device before within an hour of going to bed, and 90% reported they did. And I'm sure the statistics is the same, if not worse, right? That basically majority of people who have a device probably use them before to go to bed, and many of us use it as an alarm clock too. I know for myself, I had to make a real effort to put a real clock in my bedroom at my bedside, because we know that we're learning more and more about these electronic devices that is beyond our self-control. They're addictive, and that they're designed that way. So being able to separate ourselves from our devices is important, and it's very important because they stimulate the blue light, and blue light is even stronger than the daylight in stimulating our brain and staying awake. So put your device away before you're ready for bed. Okay, give it some time, give it rest, because when the blue light is shining, it suppresses the melatonin production, so your body doesn't know it's time to rest. Alcohol is another one. Many people use alcohol as a way to relax, and I'm faulty of that myself, and I love a glass of wine, and I do notice that when my stress is higher, I want to have a beverage much more than when I'm well hydrated, well rested. My cravings are not the same. So gaining that sensitivity for your body, and women are no exception. With alcohol is actually a stimulant, and also, just like the blue light, inhibits the melatonin release, and also reduces the growth hormone, which we need to repair, and stimulates the cortisol, which is stress hormone, and disrupts our rhythms. Another one, women snore. I know. Shh, don't tell anybody, but women do snore. And when we say it aggravates the breathing problems, especially in menopause, because things get more lax, so do our glands, the musculature in the back of the mouth here, and alcohol does the same thing, kind of relaxes that musculature and can cause you to snore. So caffeine. Well, I'm sure everybody has heard about caffeine and its culprits, but I think that the most interesting piece about the caffeine is that it has a long half-life. With half-life means that how much time does it take to break down the chemical in half. So if you had a cup of coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, by 8 o'clock in the afternoon, your body still is carrying that half of cup around. So it takes a long time to get rid of it. Some people have different metabolism for coffee. So I'm sure all of you have a friend who drinks a tiny cup of coffee and has jitters, and other one who can drink a cup of coffee and go to bed, no problem. So we do have some genetic variations of how we're able to break it down. But if you love coffee, especially, hydration is important, and doing it earlier in the day is important. So the main takeaways, I would say, in the morning, start your morning with a couple of glasses of water. Wait to eat for a couple of hours. Don't go snacking right away, and or as you're making a breakfast or lunch for your loved ones. Just take a pause, give it a couple of hours. Okay. Don't go and check your phone right away. Whatever's there, I'm sure it can wait. And create a morning ritual. At nighttime, same thing. Drink some water. See if you can have the last meal of the day at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Put those devices away and skip the nightcap. Okay? And thank you very much. I would love to hear from you all and just engage a little bit more in a conversation, and just a couple of things to share. So at Lavender Farm Wellness, I'll share with you, we'll all have a a welcome discount code that you can use if you want to come and try our services here. And we have an upcoming workshop about elimination diet and spring cleaning. So basically, I'm going to walk a group of people through elimination diet in a way to tune up our system a little bit. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll open it up back to you.
Thank you, Ugne, for that. So we're going to open it up if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask at this time.
And if you want to pass that, the discount and everything to us, we can definitely pass that information along with the filming of this.
I have a question. I don't know.
Sure.
You mentioned cold plunging, which
Oh,
is something. Yeah, I've talked to a number of people and read about it and been really curious about it. And a way to start, you know, like head in the sink.
Yeah. Great.
I know it's supposed to be really good for your inflammation, and I know a lot of people are doing it. And what's a good way to start?
So come and join us. So we go in every Sunday at noon at Galley Beach.
Yeah, I'm not there on Sundays.
Okay. Well, we can, or reach out to me. Let's find another time. I find that the social, having a group is really helpful. And there are many Sundays that I felt like not doing it, but Janet sends me a message like, "Are you coming?" Okay, fine. So having a group has been very helpful, and just we have a beautiful ocean. I think it's just doing it. And really, in the beginning with the cold plunging, I find so for those who are don't know, so idea behind cold plunging is basically similar as idea about fasting, is puts your body under stress conditions, right? But like a very controlled short amount of stress. So your healthy cells in the body, they know what to do with stress. They're like, oh, we're stressed out. Okay, we're gonna slow down, and now we're gonna speed up, and we're gonna be fine. The cells that are not functioning as well, they just shiver and die because they're too scared of that stress. They can't handle it the same way. So as a way, what they call it, apoptosis and cancer prevention and regeneration of cells and reduction of inflammation. So that's where it's really helpful, the cold plunging. Some people do it just in the shower, just turning it off. And like I personally, I can't do it in the shower.
I thought about that, like at the very end, just do a quick. Yeah.
Some people are braver than me and do it that way. For me, it was easier to go in the ocean and run out. And I'll tell you, probably for the first, so now it's been second year as doing it every Sunday. But for the first year, I'd say at least 2 or 3 months, I would run in and out, and I would just I would go in the water and my body would be like, "You're gonna die," and I would just run out this. And yet, last Sunday I went in and I sat there for a good long time, and it was really enjoyable, which I can't believe I did that. So it changes. So go for it. Even any small amount, it's really helpful. And I find for me, I had the most benefits for my mind, for clarity, than I did for anything else. And probably for all the health interventions that I've ever done, it's probably the fastest one that I could have a response, that I could instantaneously feel better.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm very excited about it.
What are your thoughts on water enemas?
I think with water enemas, so sometimes they do them as part of like deep cleansing. with that, I'm a little bit concerned because we have bacteria everywhere from top to bottom, and we're more bacteria than we are human. And with water enemas, like I'm concerned of like fleshing out too much, and in terms of bacteria in the gut, it's really the question of populations and having space. So when there's more good guys than bad guys, there's no room for bad guys to grow. And if we wash out and create a lot of space with the enema, we wash it out, and there are some good bad guys left over, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much room, I can set up shop here. So that piece that I'm like, I don't know how helpful that is, but I know some people do colonics, and I don't know a lot about that. But those are my my concerns, and the various cleanses that I've done. I think I would prefer people doing cleansing through oral intake more so than with enemas.
Thank you. That makes sense.
You're welcome. Good questions.
Real quick, what kind of a cleanse are you promoting? I'm doing an Ayurvedic 4-day right now,
Oh, wonderful.
which I've done. I've done this my second time doing it, and I had all the ingredients left over from the first, and I said, just do another one. It's been 3 months. But I've done clean gut, I've done Whole30, I've done, all kinds of different cleanses.
So basically, so I'm a functional medicine practitioner, and elimination diet is the cornerstone of that. And Whole30 is a spin-off of the elimination diet. It's sort of like a commercialized spin-off of that, but it basically looks at removing the main known allergens out of your diet for 3 weeks and then reintroducing them. And the idea is that, one, if you are triggered by those foods, you give your body an opportunity to heal. And then by introducing them, you gain control and knowledge of what are the triggers for you. So it's dairy, it's gluten, it's soy, it's shellfish, it's corn. So those are main ones. There are a couple of ones in there, the small ones.
Those are the things you leave out of the diet during the 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And you primarily focus on clean. It's really primarily focused on fruits and vegetables and clean protein.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've done that. It's very good. Yeah.
It's really, the focus is anti-inflammatory and healing for the gut. And like with the question about so when I was talking about the gut bacteria, so before they used to say you are what you eat. So now I think with science, we know more that you are what you feed. That what we put in our body, we feed them the microbiome. We feed the microbes that we have in our system. So if we're eating diet that's full in fruits and vegetables and good fiber, it feeds different kinds of bacteria than a cake does. It just does. It just the different bacteria love it. Any thoughts on fasting?
I intermittent quite a bit.
Tried it?
I intermittent most of the time. That's how I normally 2 meals a day, and but I do a bulletproof coffee in the morning.
Okay.
To kind of get me to noon. So I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so bulletproof coffee is a way that to dampen that, especially for women, to dampen that cortisol response. So there's some belief that having a little bit of fat in the morning
Yeah, for
lot.
those that don't know, you put a teaspoon of ghee and a teaspoon of MCT oil or a tablespoon.
Yeah.
And
Thank
you
you.
work up to it. You start with little,
Yeah.
and I love it. It's like having a coffee frap.
And
Right?
your brain goes, woo!
Yeah. And now I put in a little, I got that powdered coconut at roasted and I powder and I put a spoonful of that in too, which makes it even more frothier.
Nice.
So, yeah.
How about you, Carmen? Any of this can be applicable to you and with the little one in the house?
Yeah, I've tried intermittent fasting. I actually have a hard time with like diets and stuff. And I mean, I've tried different ones and I do like to do cleanses a lot. I definitely feel better after I do them. I actually have to go to the doctor today and they're going to let me see a dietitian because I feel like I'm 30, my body's changing and it's just not the same. So it's been a little rough here lately with a lot of bloating. Trying to figure that out has been like the hardest part for me.
Yeah, both of the dietitians at the hospital are outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so definitely use them. They're great resource. They're both super knowledgeable.
That's good. Yeah, I think this is my first time ever seeing one, so I'm a little nervous, a little bit.
Yeah. Don't be. They're really great. And I think they do most of their visits virtually now. Mm-hmm. That also makes it really. I find that makes it a lot easier for folks.
I feel like that is when it comes to seeing people like, you know, therapists or anything. It's easier just to get on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like with the even just focusing on hydration, it helps a lot with cravings, helps a lot with the offsetting the sort of washing out the salts, washing out the sugars, and like so even just making sure you do a good job with hydration, it can be really helpful, just as little as that, just adding more water. And even like when sometimes it feels like counterintuitive, if somebody feels bloated, feels like, oh, if I'm going to drink more water, I'm going to get more bloated, I'm already holding on to water. But we're holding on to water because we have, for lack of better word, toxins floating around, but really it's just like cell waste and salt and like just particles floating around. And if there's not enough water, your body is holding on to it. And if you try to any sort of with cleanse or any kind of diet, the reason people lose weight in those couple of weeks very quickly is what they call the reason it's called water weight is because your inflammation goes down, you're not as inflamed, and things get washed out, so your body is not struggling so much to cool itself off.
Yeah, I definitely have to work on the water intake.
It's hard. It's like simple, but it's hard. I know, like I have to work on it all the time. So if when I read that study on 2 glasses of water in the morning, 2 glasses at night, it's like, okay, that's doable. I can do that.
Well, they say if you can drink 2 glasses of wine, you should be able to drink 2.
Good one. I haven't heard that. That's good.
It's funny, Carmen, I've heard that too, and I'm still over here like, nope, I can drink those 2 glasses of wine a lot quicker than I can drink 1 glass of water.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, I don't know if it's the taste or if there is a taste, like what's going on.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's different.
It's definitely good to know those little details and facts about that kind of stuff. I mean, you get told a lot what all of these things are. You know, you can Google it, you can research it, but it's like nice to actually know how you can, like for your body type and things like that. So,
well, and it's not just, you know, that's because sometimes it can be, you know, like, oh, drink more water. It can just kind of sound like from a hip, you know, just like, yeah, of course, I know I'm supposed to do that. But I know for me, it's helpful to know how it works in the body mechanistically, that that serves an actual function. And when I can visualize it, I'm like, okay, it's just helpful. Or like with screens, right? And it's a tough one. I know it's a tough one for me. And like I have a lot of responsibilities. I've worked 2 jobs, and I feel like I'm irreplaceable. If I check my phone, I know what's going on, but really nothing is actually going to happen at 10 o'clock at night. Like I'm actually not going to help anybody or not going to solve anybody's problems. And I'm not actually that effective in doing that. So, like, but kind of having to be honest with myself and sometimes trick myself too. So I don't know, maybe you have some tips around that, or like, I know some people use like the different apps on limiting blue light exposure. There's some, setting apps for like where you can't go into your phones during certain hours. I don't know if maybe you guys have some tips to share as well.
I know I use an app where I can track my food and water intake and everything, and it kind of gives you like the calories for everything. Like you can scan it, and that helps me be accountable for what I'm putting into my body. But it's also nice to know like how it's affecting your body, how different foods react with your body. I know that I'm more accountable if I know what's going into my body than if I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Very powerful. What's the app that you like? Because there's like bajillion of them.
Yeah. It's the My Fitness Pal. One of my friends sent it to me. She was like, "This helps me," and it's been really good.
Oh.
Marina told me about it too. Yeah, so it definitely helps with those issues and just kind of staying on track so you don't eat too much, or I know that people count calories, and that is really hard for me because I look at food you eat and you're like, oh, should I eat that?
Yeah. I couldn't count calories. That's like, that would be like, that's like really hard. Like, and also, and I think and it was in one of the slides about fasting too. Like that's sort of the one where I put in the disclosures for medical conditions. That if you have eating disorder, like have struggled with eating disorders, fasting can be a trigger too. Like, because like when you get a hang of it, like it kind of can feel superhuman a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten for so many hours and I'm doing great. And it can, if somebody has had eating disorder, it can, my sense is like it can trigger those eating disorders too. So have to be like aware of those tendencies too.
Definitely. Oh.
And the truth is, like, majority of women have, like, I forget exactly the statistics, and I think it's like 3 out of 4 women have struggled with some type of eating disorder, that like, or have disordered relationships. So just like it's really can be a blanket statement. Like we all need to be sensitive to that. I don't think it's like one person has it, the other one doesn't. But like there's sort of gradations of it.
And I think that's something like women also have to be knowledgeable about because there are so many types of eating disorders. I have a really close friend of mine from college who just had to go into treatment for the 4th time for anorexia. And this time she almost died. And so it's just like having to understand how her anorexia works versus someone else's. And just like understanding those different types of disorders is not like it. They're definitely so different, and they're different for each person.
Yeah. Absolutely. Caroline, do you have any other thoughts?
Oh, when you said about the light, the light, your phone has something called like night shift mode. That's already installed on there, which is
that's right.
And then I use a program called Flux, and that's on my
I used to do that.
Yeah. And I also have blue light glasses that are really dorky. But they also help with seasonal affective disorder too. So those were just some of the little other things that
Great.
to do.
Yeah, that's right. And the other ones, it wasn't gonna go into the doctor. Sort of like there's a big topic that skin, like we all age faster from those screens.
Oh, I didn't know
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it's like it's coming out. It's like it's sort of like there's not a lot of solid data on it, but like it's has an effect. I invested in that. I hope it does something.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that about the women and our hormones in the morning,
Mhm.
because I was trying to just skip breakfast. And I would find that, like you said, the cortisol just shot up. My hormones started getting off. And then once I started just to have breakfast, like you said, within that 2-hour window of waking up, everything evened out. And now I can just have dinner early
Great.
and not eat until the next morning. And that works so much better. I'd so much rather eat super early than not have breakfast
Yeah.
so I can have breakfast.
Mhm.
And then the protein thing during menstruation, I think, is helpful to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because we're breaking down tissue, right?
makes
And so we need to repair it. But I'm glad you shared that about the fasting about the morning, because like it's a little bit different, and I think it's also different in premenopausal women versus menopausal women, like because our hormones are just different in different stages of life. So I think it's just sort of like, especially if somebody's starting out with fasting, it's much safer to, and also more in sync, I feel like, with data, and more in sync with the things that we do now with circadian rhythms. That you know that when it's time to go milk cows, time to be up and going and have breakfast, and then when the cows go to sleep, you go to sleep.
Well, does anyone have any other questions? Well, thank you so much for giving us this
You're
time.
welcome.
And
Thank you.
Fun.
we will definitely add this on to into all of our videos and everything, and share that for you. And if anyone has any questions, let us know.
And if you want, I can share my slide deck with you.
Yes, please. If you'll just send that over to Sean or myself, we'll definitely get it all put on to the website and help all the women get healthy.
And if you wanted to also include that the coupon code, so we can
Okay.
send it to all the participants
Okay.
as well. That would be
Perfect.
great.
I'll do that. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Everyone.
you.
Have a good night. Hope I'll see
Thank
you
you.
around town.
Bye.
Bye.